India. When I say that word, what images come to mind? Are you thinking of something along the lines of this? Are you a child of the 80s and this is what you first thought of? Now, I understand if you're not familiar with India, or that if you've never even been there, it's hard to conceive of what that country looks like. Because one, the country is massive. And number two, it's the most populated country in the world, more than China. But did it ever enter your mind that India could look like this or this? This is also India. This is Nilgiri Mountains, home to the Nilgiri Biosphere. This is the largest forested national park in India, and it's huge. How big is it? Well, as far as national parks go, it's not that big. It's twice the size of Rhode Island, bigger than the state of Delaware. But it's home to thousands of different species, and it's heavily protected for good reason. And why are we talking about this when this is a channel about board games? Well, we're talking about it because of Biomes of the Nilgiris, a game from India coming to Kickstarter soon. Really quickly here, if you like what you see here and you want to see more, please like and subscribe. It definitely helps the channel grow. If you want to help the channel grow even more, please consider joining my Patreon. We've restructured all the different tiers and making it more accessible and more rewarding with different tiers offering different things. The second tier lets you become a producer of the show, having your name appear on the credits of every episode of Cardboard East. The third tier gives you access to the exclusive vlog series that I release every week, giving you some of my thoughts about some of the games as well as what's going on behind the scenes. But the fourth tier, you get access to the free board game giveaway that happens every month. Last month, I gave away this game, Raw, the retail edition. Now, this coming month, I will be giving away Shinjuku. Yes, this game. And I'll be giving this away for free. I'll just take everyone's name in the top tier, put it into a giant salad bowl, stick my hand in, pull out a name, and then that person will win a free copy of the game. So last month, this went out to Evan. Congrats, Evan. This month, Shinjuku is going to go out to a lucky winner. And now, back to the show. Here we have Biomes of Nilgiris. Now, this is a smaller box, and you can see here is a ticketized size box here. So it does come a little bit smaller box, but it will take up quite a bit of space. Let's take a look inside. Here you can see the rule book. Now, none of these components are finalized. This is still very much a prototype. In fact, when you look here in this rule book, you can see that there are these little things here that says upcoming, meaning that these expansions are, well, upcoming. And some of the components in here weren't in here as well. This is a pretty thorough rule book. It is all the way 36 pages, but it does read quite easily, and it's not that difficult to get through. Here are the experience tokens. You're going to be playing with these quite extensively throughout the game, and you're going to be needing these all the time. Here are the individual player components. You have the meeple, which will be silk screened, and then your player tokens, which are double-sided. One for a tent and two for a walkie-talkie, so you can catch poachers. That's right, poachers. Here are the species cards. You have level 1 and level 2. Roughly 71 cards in here, but my favorite thing in this is the artwork, and it is just absolutely lovely. You get the name, you get the scientific name, and then you even have some flavor text here on the bottom for all of these cards. And these are all real. Look at the flying squirrel, so cool. All these real world animals, flora and fauna in the Nilgiris biosphere. Now, these are the level 1, so they are a little bit easier to obtain, but the level 2 ones are when you see some of the more rare animals, such as the Bengal tiger. Look, it's so cute. Nilgiri tar. You even get some vultures. You get to some really cool animals that are in here, and the artwork on each and every one of them is fantastic. The game also comes with equipment cards, and these equipment cards allow you to take more efficient actions, and some of them are incredibly powerful. The game also comes with these biome cards, and there are quite a few of these. You do have some field stations. This is where you're going to be resting and doing a lot of journaling and studying. But then you have actual like designed cards for the different types of biomes here. And what I love about this is that there are like flavor text on all of these cards. And some of them give you a little bit of information into India. And I think that's absolutely fascinating. And I love the artwork. Here in this bag are all the expansions, and I put them all in here, and I'll talk about these a little bit later. Here is your player aid, and these are double-sided, and they have the exact same information on the other side. This goes over all the different actions that you have in the game and breaks down what you do on those actions. This is really helpful for the first game, but definitely when it comes to the second game, you won't be looking at this that much. Now here are the different characters that you can play as: the animal whisperer, citizen scientist, wildlife activist, and the nature lover. And here are their unique player powers. These are also double-sided, as you can see here. So you have the forest ranger, photographer, birdwatcher, and explorer, and they also have unique player abilities. And here is the board itself. Let's go ahead and unfold it. And then here we go. This will all make a lot more sense once we zoom out, and I'll talk a little bit about the gameplay, which we'll do now. Now here we are, the main board set up for a 2-player game. Now, even though this is the main board, the bulk of the game will not be happening here. But I definitely want to go over this and highlight a few areas, so that way when you look at this, you have an idea of what's going on. The first thing I want to point out is that here along the edge is the score track of the game, and we're going to zoom in so you can see all these little parts here. So here are your player tokens, and you're going to be moving along here as you score points in the game. Over here, when you cross certain points, you'll get bonuses. As soon as someone reaches or passes 18 points, they're going to trigger this, and this will go into the mid-game, and quite a few things are going to happen. First thing is that these level 1 biome cards are going to go away, and they're going to be replaced with the level 2 biome cards. Then the level 1 species cards are also going to go away and come out with the level 2 species cards, and then you're going to splay out 3 for that market. Now the game end will trigger as soon as someone reaches or passes 49 points, and that's why it's in this little light blue thing. So therefore you understand what the main clock of the game is. Now, throughout the course of the game, you'll be drawing these biome cards, and these biomes are just different locations that you can go to, and I'll break these locations down and explain what all this iconography means in just a second, but just so you know that the deck is here on the map. Sliding over here, you'll see the species cards. Throughout the course of the game, you'll be drawing these and then placing these into your hand, and then later on, you'll be discovering them and then conserving these flora and fauna. Now above these are the equipment cards. The equipment cards you'll be picking up into your hand as well. Then eventually you'll be equipping them with their cost and then gaining a benefit. And the benefit could be anything for like once per turn, ongoing, or a one-time use. At the very top here are these public goals that everyone has. So at the end of the game, for example, if you have more ecotype species conserved than anyone else, you'll get some 4 points. You have more mammals conserved than anyone else, you get 3 points. And these just give you a little bit of focus and agency throughout the course of the game. There's a whole deck of A's and B's in here, so every time you play, it'll be a little different. Now here you'll see the sustainability bonus track, and you'll see this icon throughout different components in the game. And when you accomplish that, then you'll be able to move up this track up here. The person at the end of the game who has the highest ranked part here will get 5 points. And every time you move up, then you're going to get the corresponding bonus. And these will just give you more resources for you to play with. In addition to that, over here, if you're the first person to do any of these things here, well, then you also get to move up. I usually like to leave some player tokens here, so that way, when you're the first one to pull one of these things off, such as fill all 9 journal slots, then you can place your token here as a reminder that no one else can accomplish it. Now that is the main board. So let's go ahead and take a look at what you're really going to be looking at throughout the course of the game. And this is what you're going to be seeing throughout the main course of the game. This is the map of the area. Now these are all the biome cards here, and you can see here that this is a starting biome card. And you can see here, this is the field station. This is actually where you'll begin the game by placing your meeples here. And then these are the other biome cards. Let's take a look at them really quickly here. So this is the show the grassland, and you can see this is the biome type. And if you take a specific action here, you'll gain this. And then this is the cost for another action here. And this is a little bit of flavor text here. These are going to be randomized throughout the during the setup, and then this will spread throughout the course of the game. Here we see your player board. This is the Explorer, and this will be your journal, and then this will be your supply. And we'll talk about this journal in just a little bit, but I also want to mention that each character, you can see this is the Explorer, have their own starting equipment. Now you won't start with these equipped, but these will be in your hand, and then later on in the game you can equip them and they'll give you an incredibly powerful actions. On your turn in Biomes of Nilgiris, you're going to take 3 actions, and one of them is mandatory. That one is the travel. You must always travel on your turn. The 2 other actions can be, one of them can be doubled. It could be anything that you want. There are ways to get rid of this mandatory travel movement, and we can go into that in just a little bit. But I'm going to break down all these actions here, and then before you know it, it's all going to make sense. The Explore action. The first thing you can do is explore. You're going to take one of these biome cards here, and then you're going to place it anywhere on here where it is connected to 2 cards. So you can place it here, here, here in this corner, down here below, or even here. And once you place it down here, you're going to take a money token, which is this yellow icon here, and you're going to place it right there on the card. Travel action. The travel action is quite simple. You can just take your meeple and then move them to an adjacent space. Pretty simple. You can move to a place that's unoccupied or occupied from other players. You can even move to an unexplored location, in which case you're going to take this and you're going to flip over this card here. Now, anytime you do take that money token from the traveling action, you're going to place it here in your private supply here. Now, this it won't fit here. Eventually, you'll get a lot of these tokens, and it's just going to spread all around here, and that's totally fine. But I do want to make a point, because this is the supply area, and then this is your journal, which we'll talk about next. Here we are back on our map. So let's say I travel here, and then I want to do a journal action. When you do a journal action, you're going to look at the biome card, and you're going to look here, and you can see this icon here. See how it's shaped like a notebook or a journal? That's going to be really important. You're going to look at this icon here, and you're going to take that corresponding resource and add it to your journal. So we did a journal action on the moist deciduous, and then here you can see that icon. You're going to take that icon here and then place it into your journal, like so. And every time you do a journal action, you could also draw an equipment or a species card and add it to your hand. Now you will notice this little iconography here. What that means is when you journal, and if you happen to complete a row, and that row is all different, well then you'll get a money for free, and just place it right there. These 2 are covered up, and every time you place one here, then you'll get to draw an extra card, and this one will give you a free travel action as well. And that is the journal action. Next, we can see the study action, which has this little house on it here. The house refers to the field station. In fact, you must be at the field station to do the study action. And then once you're here, you're going to take all of these icons and then slide them over here, and all the tokens will go to your regular supply. So journaling will fill up your journal, and then studying will bring them to your personal supply. Now, what are you going to do with these tokens? Well, you're going to do a lot with these experience tokens, or XP tokens as they're called. One of the things you're going to do is you're going to do the equipment action. The equipment action is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to equip your equipment cards. You're going to have some of these cards in your hand. Let's take a look at this, and this is the flare gun. And for an action, you can't equip it. Here's the cost, is 4 mountains. And then I'm going to use my tokens here. Now I have 2 mountain tokens here, but I also have 2 money tokens, and money is wild in this game. So therefore, I'm going to spend 4 mountain tokens, and then I'm going to equip this. It'll immediately give me 2 points. And then once per turn, when I do an explorer action, it doesn't take an action, which is really powerful. And this totally makes sense because I am the explorer. So we talked about quite a few actions, talked about travel, we talked about the journal, studying, moving all the stuff to your player board. You have exploring, so that way you could travel more. You have equipment, so that way you can take more efficient turns. And now we're going to talk about discovery. Throughout the course of the game, you'll be getting more and more species cards here. And you're going to look in the top right-hand corner, and you're going to look at what this symbol is here. Now this is the bamboo orchid and it is in this particular biome. So if my meeple happens to be in this biome card, well then you can see it right here, that describes which biome it is. Then I can take a discover action, and all that I'll be doing is looking through my hand, finding a biome that matches, such as the bamboo orchid here, and then I'll be placing it face down in my tableau. I'll also gain something for that trouble, and you can see the bamboo orchid here gives me a point. Some of them will give you resources. Some of them, like this one, can be anywhere. So these have to be in these specific biomes, and I can discover the flame of the forest in any biome on the map. So again, we can explore to build up the map, and then we travel on that map. We do journaling on the map to put tokens in our journal, and then we can study to take the tokens from the journal into our private supply, and then using those we could build for equipment. We could also discover animals, but this is the most important action in the game, and that is conserve. Now there are two types of conserve actions. You can conserve a biome, or you can conserve a species card. First, let's talk about the biomes here. Now, your meeple does have to be on that particular biome. And then if you look here in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a cost. Well, you spend that cost and then you gain that benefit. This benefit here is 3 points. And then you'll see this icon, and that's the sustainability track, and that will allow you to move up. Once you conserve a biome, you're going to take your token and you're going to place it right here. And what that does is that's going to tell everyone else that this has already been conserved and no one else can conserve this biome. Now I did say that there are two types of conserve actions. You can conserve biomes and you can conserve species. Well, all that has to be is your meeple has to be in this location. This must be discovered and placed in your tableau area, not in your hand. And then you will pay this particular cost here and then gain that bonus. This one will just give me 5 points. I'll take this little player token here and place that there to remind me that I have conserved the Nilgiri langur. Now you'll see this little icon here, and this deals with orchids, or not orchids, objectives. You see this little 2 here. Well, this will be ranked as 1, 2, or 3. 3 are endangered, 1 is quite common. You also see a sign here, and there are different types of species cards. You have plants, you have mammals, and there are even birds and different types of animals, and that's all for objectives or for the expansions. Now that is basically the gist of the game. You're going to be exploring to add more areas to the map. You're going to be traveling there. You're going to be journaling, adding to your player board. You're going to be conserving these biomes and conserving animals. And you're going to be moving around, collecting these resources, conserving these areas, conserving animals, and that is the main point of the game. In fact, conserving animals and biomes are the main ways to score points in the game. All this information is a little bit disjointed, but let's go back up top and I'll give you a general idea of how the vibe feels in this game and definitely what this feels like as you're traveling around the map. Now this is a very small map. This is only 7 locations. It does sprawl out quite a bit. One time I played, you got through like maybe 16 different locations. It can take up quite a bit of table space, not too much, but definitely a good amount, bigger than you think for such a small size box. Do not go into this thinking like, oh, it's a tiny game, it's gonna be tiny table space, it's okay. No. This is a big, epic, sprawling game in this teeny tiny box. But what's here, I really enjoy, and I haven't played all 8 characters, I'm looking forward to that. I haven't played all the expansions, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. This is a game that's gonna stick around for a while, and I've been saying this before, and I'm gonna say it again, is that I need to be playing more games from India. Now, all of Asia, like in terms of board games, it's still a pretty nascent culture. Like it hasn't fully matured like the North American market has. And so there are these young publishers coming out and these young designers, and they're still kind of new to this environment and this way of developing and designing games. And it's a little different compared to North America. But the stuff that's coming out of India is developed so well and designed so layeredly, and then it's so fascinating that even though it's this nascent, it's coming out with so many good games. I've been saying on my channel for a long time that I need to play more Korea board games, and I definitely agree with that, but I definitely also say that like I need to be playing more games out of India because the stuff that's coming out of there, there's just banger after banger after banger. And these aren't light games. These are like medium weight to heavy games. And it's just fascinating that this part of the world is still nascent in board gaming, and it's still producing these amazing games already. So I think that, in 5, 10 years, you're going to see even more amazing games, which is exactly what should be happening. I'm not going to say this isn't amazing. This is a really good game. I'm definitely glad I have this in my collection. I'm definitely going to be playing this again and again and again. Vibes, like I said before, are like this live action RPG where you're conserving land and animals, and it's really rad. And seeing yourself go up that score track is just fascinating. And it's terrifying in the second half of the game because someone's turn could be conserve, move, conserve, and maybe there's 2 animals. And maybe the animals were like 7 points and 7 points. It's just boom, 14 points, which is this huge section of the map. And it's even more brutal because it's equal turns. And so if you're the last player and then you end the game, no one else gets an action. And you're just like, whoa. Now, I know some people feel a little weird about this. Some people like, an extra round so I could just finish things that I do. But no, I really like abrupt endings. This is me. I appreciate abrupt endings. Like Scythe, I love that Scythe just boom, ends, it's done. I know some people disagree with me, but I really love that design choice. And I think it really works here. It's like, no, we're done, boom. Like, you should have been focusing on scoring as much as you can and paying attention to where you are on the objectives from day one. And because of that, it makes the early game and the mid game just as important as the late game. You are trying to be super efficient, trying to make sure that you have enough resources and doing all the resources that you can. Having money be wild, but also a really important resource that you need to equip things is so fascinating. And it's really hard to get money. Like, you're either going to be exploring to getting more locations, or you're going to be like journaling a lot. And more often than not, you're going to be journaling. Then, boom, mid-game happens and things are worth tons of points. And every time I play, there's always been a different strategy that I've tried to have. And it's just so much fun moving your meeple around, gaining these resources, because each of the 8 characters play a little bit differently. And each one feels OP. Like, I haven't played all 8 of them, but the ones I've played, there's definitely some sort of action that they get to take for free with one of their equipment. And so usually, like, turn 1 and turn 2, turn 3, I try to have my personalized equipment geared up already. And that usually allows me to get some free actions. And as everyone knows, a free action is worth its weight in gold in most games. And it's definitely worth that here. And I really love how all the characters do feel different. Like the photographer, he can discover a species for free. And then he can discover species in the adjacent biome. So every turn, at the beginning of my turn, I would just discover a new card. And then I would get resources or points every single turn. It was fantastic. The scientist, he's able to like study for free. And then he doesn't even have to move eventually. So then it's just like conserve, conserve, conserve. Like, you're able to like just have these big focused turns where you don't even have to move. And that is pretty powerful in this game because being forced to move kind of limits you to 2 actions, but the scientist gets 3 actions. So it's really nice to play each character and see how they break the game just a bit. Now, I do want to mention, like, the artwork on the cards is fantastic. The biome cards are fantastic. The animal cards are fantastic. Having the objectives there is really important because you kind of see what you need to do to kind of like make sure you're there. And it's very obvious. You could read the board. There's no closed information. You could see how much everyone is. You can see where you are if you're first or second place. And I was just really, really impressed by this game. I definitely enjoy it. And it's funny because my wife doesn't like spatial games as much. She feels much more at home and in her jam when she's managing resources and fulfilling contracts. Like, those types of games are her jam and she loves them. Spatial games, she has a little bit of trouble with, but this one she really enjoyed, and she's like, I want to play it again. I want to play it again. I want to play it again. And it's just fun. We've both been having fun exploring all these different characters and exploring Nilgiris. And I love that there's flavor text on the animals, there's flavor text on the location cards, and you can kind of read about different tribes or different species there. It's not much, but it's just enough to add like this extra level of depth to the game. This cup is here because I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I do apologize. Overall vibes, this feels like an action RPG analog version. Now, while there is this giant board here where you have all the different gear, all the different species, even like a deck of map cards and your objectives and all of that, the first time it's a little bit drawing. You're like, oh, this big board isn't the center of attention. It's the side attention, but their main focus is this map of where you are, the Nilgiris section. And so you're basically moving around, journaling things down, and then getting more cards, and then eventually getting back to a little like field station, and then studying and getting all those tokens back there so you could spend them on other things. And you're gonna be journaling a lot, getting lots of cards, and then you're going to be using all your tokens to conserve places and conserve animals and species. And it becomes kind of like this race at first, because you want to get up the sustainability track as quick as you can because it becomes 5 points. And I've lost plenty of games because I wasn't number one on the sustainability track. So do keep that in mind. But that first half of the game, it almost feels as if you're trying to race really quickly to go up the sustainability track as quick as you can. And the fastest way to do that is by being the first person to like fill up your journal, discover 3 different species, conserve 3 species, and conserve 3 biomes. Right out of the box, like the first thing you could do on your turn is move, conserve this biome, like almost immediately. So that becomes what a lot of people do because that's 4 or 5 points. Because you definitely want to move up the sustainability track, so you're trying to get those first ones out of the way. But it's usually, I found that, and by doing that, by racing to get conserving biomes as quick as you can and conserving those animals as quick as you can, you're gonna hit the mid game a little bit sooner. And it's funny that it's called mid game because it doesn't feel like the mid game. It feels like it's somewhere at 33 to 40% of the game is like right there that first half. I haven't even talked about the expansions yet. The expansions add this scenario on top of already really solid gameplay. So one of the ones that I played was the poachers. And you have another meeple that you place onto the map. And the poacher always goes where you're not because they're poaching animals. And so for you, the little thing that you have to do is set up these cameras to capture the poachers. And if you're able to do this more often, you're gaining points. So it adds this extra level to the gameplay. Not too much, but just enough there. But what's so cool about that is that they could have made that anything. It could have been like, take photos of an elephant. It could have been anything. But they took a real world situation and gamified it. And it just makes this universe a little bit more tangible. And it makes it a lot more educational and interesting. And I'm really happy that Blue Encore went that route with the expansions. Now, I have not played this game at 4 players yet, but I have played it at 3. The only other critique that I have is that you get used to counting your actions like on your fingers, 1, 2, 3. Some players have trouble counting those. I had one person who had trouble counting the actions that they're doing, and we usually do that. But usually, for me, like on my downtime as I'm watching the other players move, I'm thinking about what I want to do next. And by the time it's my turn, I'm like, okay, journal, move, conserve. Or journal, move, journal. Or journal, journal, move. And it's kind of nice also that one of your 3 actions is moving. So that way you're only really thinking about 2. And sometimes it's interesting to see how people can be, you're so self-contained with what you're doing that when you look up at someone, you're like, how did you get so many cards? I'm like, did you not hear me? I'm like, journal, journal, move, journal, journal, move, journal, journal, move. And so it's interesting that you just get so absorbed into what you're doing. Now, what's another thing that I do need to mention is that even though this is a very tiny little box, the table space is huge because the board is like what, it's 6 of these. So that unfolds out. And then you're pushing that off to the side. And as big as that board is, your tableau is pretty much the same. One of the things that I definitely want to mention is that the cards themselves, the species cards, the iconography is in the top right corner for like the biome that you need to be at. And I think that was a bad development choice. I think that biome needs to be in the top left corner. And the reason why is because when you display cards in your hand, you can't see the right corner. You can only see the left corner. And that's why when you play poker with poker cards, it's in the top left. Because when you display your cards and you display your hand that way, you're seeing it that way. And I think they should have done it that way. Hopefully they could correct that or do something a little bit differently. So what ends up happening is that instead of holding your cards like this giant fan in your hand, everyone just puts them on the table. And then you have one area of your tableau where these are the cards I haven't played, and these are the cards I have. The game space is this giant board, this times 6, and then that space times player count plus 1, or plus 2 really, because it's this board, then it's this board for the map of where you are, and then everyone needs about that much space for all their cards. So this game takes up some space. But I realize that this what you saw here in this whole video is just a prototype. Again, it's just a prototype. So what's going to be delivered unto you is going to be much better than this. So I am super excited to see what's going to happen, what's going to change. I know the meeples are going to be silk printed, and I know that there's going to be more components for the expansion, but already I'm pretty excited. I am super happy with just the prototype. When it comes to the base game, with the extra expansions, I'm all in. Like this is to me, I think is a great investment. And I think if you're curious about this and you're liking this new nature trend that's going on in the board game industry, this is definitely one of the better ones that I played. Once again, my name is Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. If you like what you see here and you want to see more, please consider liking, subscribing, and joining the Patreon to help the channel grow. I'm going to put a link up here to a video that I think you'll enjoy. See you there.